All right, so I use something called a paper pot transplanter that lets me plant out a 50-foot row very quickly, like in about 20 minutes. And this is 400 starts that I do in about 20 minutes. It's a great machine. The one thing they didn't tell me was your soil has to be really sifted, because as it's plowing the soil, if it hits a rock, even the size of a golf ball, it proceeds to get all wobbly womp. So I made the Vibrator 2000, and this size, it's 3 feet wide, 5 feet long, so it's quite large. And I had to do this for the beds. And the way I have this is a screen. I think it's 1/2 inch, and it's on a cart, so that it's 3 feet wide, because my beds are roughly 3 feet wide. Well, the frame's 3 feet wide, and then this extra bit lets me not go into the bed whenever possible. And so this is called a vibrating motor. I got it off Amazon. You can get different sizes, typically 30, 40, 90, and 100 watt. This one's 100 watt. For this size, definitely the 100 watt is the ticket. If I was a rich man, I'd get a second motor and put it on the other side, and that way it would screen a lot more evenly. It works really well. I started with a 40 watt motor and it just wasn't enough. And this was originally on caster wheels, and I was going to use a reciprocating saw, but it burnt out because it's just way too large. And so this is what I've made. It's suspended by just rope. I'm going to change these so they have carabiners, and I can change the height and the screen size. I have to dismount the motor each time. Bit annoying, but 'tis the price. And I sift tons of soil. I don't know if it shows up on video, but it is very fine. I still wind up getting like the occasional twig, but this doesn't mess up the paper pot transplanter. I plan on using this to also screen my potting soil, because again, with the paper pot, I have a finer screen. It's like a 1/4 inch. It can't have sticks the size that I just showed you. And this was all made out of scrap 2x4. So far, I think the motor was about $100. The hardware screen was about $30. And if we don't include the reciprocating saw I burnt out, that I had just lying around. This piece of wood here is just here because I had cut a hole for the reciprocating saw mechanism, and I just patched the hole. So that's the only reason this is here. The shovel is on the end so that I can scoop out the material. I have quite a bit of rock and debris in mine. So what happens is I will do one section, a 5-foot section, and then I empty it. When there's too much rock in there, it starts to weigh down the screen, and the motor starts working less effectively. And it happens to work out that I do a 5-foot section, I need to clear it out. 5-foot section, clear it out. So I'll do this section from here over to here, and then I'll roll it that way. Where I am, I have to run a generator. So some of these you can get to run on DC. I tried to run it off an inverter and a battery, but it really eats electricity. So you can also get these in DC, so they might be more efficient to run off of a battery. So that's a very large scale. The other thing that I learned is you'll notice that there are these bars across. When the screen sags, what happens is it just becomes way less effective. So these are actually underneath, and they just keep the screen from drooping. It doesn't affect performance at all. If I was going to change one thing, the orientation of this, you can see that the top part goes this way. I would change it the other way, because quite often I have to scrape from the other direction, and then I keep hitting this way. So eventually my shovel's going to pack it in. So for a screen this big, I have to reach across. If your screen is smaller, it's not going to really matter what way you put this up or down, but it's something to note if you're going to make something this big. Ultimately, I would like to make this lower. Right now, this is about 2 feet high. I'm probably going to rebuild this, make it sit within here, because this was on caster wheels. As you can tell here, the caster wheels packed in pretty fast, but it just didn't work very well either. So I'm going to try and lower this, because like the wheels give me 10 inches of lift right away, another 1.5 inches here, and it just starts adding up. So that is the Vibrator 2000. I'd show it in motion, but I got work to do. Smaller screen, smaller motor, and in a perfect world I'd have a motor on each side and it would vibrate a lot more evenly. When I'm shoveling in, what happens is I'll put a shot in the middle, let's say, and then I have to be cognizant of where there's like clear spots, because if I dump it, keep shooting into the same spot, it stops vibrating. So it worked out pretty well. Like I can shoot it pretty far, and I just look to where I'm shooting, and yeah, it works pretty well. I'm gonna use it to screen these beds, and then also I'll use it to screen my potting mix, and hopefully that's helpful to someone. So hardware cloth I got from Home Depot, and the motor, just look up vibrating motor on Amazon and you will find these. They're used for like concrete and a bunch of other stuff. Like I said, I went with 100 watt, and this is a 3x5 screen, so I need that. If you're using a smaller screen, it will not require as large of a motor, and you do have a DC option in case. That's why this was on the end, was so that I could put a battery in the inverter on here to run AC. But DC, as we know with power tools, they have a lot more juice to them, and they probably still consume as much battery. The battery I have is pretty small. It's 660 cold cranking amps. It was one that I just had lying around. So, and maybe the only other thing I would change on this is these wheels. I thought it'd be a lot more practical, because I've made these kind of dollies for the farm to carry stuff around. Like the generator over there is on that, and that works really well for the ones they're on casters, so they move around. What I might do here is I might change these into ones that just stay straight, because in the dirt they get all wobbly womp, and it becomes a bit of a pain to do that. These original bolts were because this thing was on casters and I could raise it up and down, but this is going to live here permanently now. And eventually I'd like to make it so I could screen into totes or a wheelbarrow. And so right now, with this here, I have to remove these, and then the cross bracing is going to become a little dicey. That's why I have these guys here. The whole frame will get wompy. So I'm going to try and put in smaller cross bracing so that it doesn't get in the way, because when I'm shoveling from that end, you can see I've removed one. It gets in the way of me shooting material in, so I'm going to create a smaller cross brace so I have a bigger window to shoot into. So I'm sure there's lots of ways I can improve this. I'm probably going to remove the extension off here because I don't need it anymore, and I want this end open so I can get a wheelbarrow underneath. I have real big wheelbarrows. Boop. It's hard to see over there. It's one of them double wheel jobbies. So I figured out that with a 3x5 screen, I could fit in 2 wheelbarrows end to end, but the problem is that bar is in my way. So eventually I'll make this so I can have 2 wheelbarrows and just screen soil into them. It's something you want to think about as far as your height and the screen size. And okay, I think I'm really done now. I got to get to work. Hopefully that's helpful.